bringing you the news and information you need from the people making a difference. This is Comcast Newsmakers.
And welcome back to Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Steve Swat. My guest this segment is Ted Lieu, a member of the State Assembly from Torrance in Southern California. Thanks for being back with us.
Thank you.
I know much of your legislative agenda deals with criminal justice issues, and I know you have a new bill just starting to make its way through the process that deals with the early prisoner release program that really was instituted, became law in January of this year.
Correct. I voted against that bill last year because of my concern for public safety. I believe public safety is the first priority of government, and what happened because of that bill is now CDCR, the California Department of Corrections, is releasing thousands of prisoners early. That makes no sense because we have a 70% recidivism rate in California. That means for every 100 prisoners we release, over 70 come back after committing more crimes in your neighborhood.
But it's my understanding that that 70% recidivism rate is for your more violent offenders that get out on parole. These are non-violent, aren't they, that get on parole, right, and that recidivism rate is less?
So actually, it's interesting. It's almost the reverse. A lot of quote-unquote non-violent offenders, such as property crime offenders, actually have one of the highest recidivism rates. And so we're in effect releasing people who have even higher recidivism rates than some of the more violent offenders who actually have lower recidivism rates, but they just tend to commit extremely violent crimes when they do it. The other problem with this is simultaneously we gutted rehabilitation programs. In my mind, how we solve this prison crisis is we reduce our recidivism rate. If we could just have a 50% failure rate, we would then have 80,000 prisoners that never come back to state prison because they've learned a vocational skill or got a GED. What happened last year with the bill was we cut $250 million. We've now laid off 800 instructors in state prisons. Makes no sense from a policy perspective.
This was, as you allude to, this was a budget balancing move. I mean, to save $500 million in our prison spending, and right now prisons account for what, 11% of overall state spending?
Prison spending has gotten out of control, but if you look at what happened in the last 3 years, the California State Auditor issued a report saying we have actually declined in inmate population. This is now the third straight year. In terms of sheer numbers, we've actually had the largest drop of prisoners of any state. However, our prison spending has increased by more than a third, over 30%. My view is we've got significant mismanagement going on. I would like the Department of Corrections to start cutting some of its overhead, some of its management staff. I think that's how we bring down a lot of the costs.
I know your legislation also calls for, I guess, greater communications with the local authorities, or more authority for the local authorities, right?
Yes, because oftentimes it's local law enforcement that knows if, when prisoner X comes out, if that person is really quite dangerous or is going to go back to being part of a street gang. It allows local law enforcement to raise their objection to the Department of Corrections, and the Department of Corrections then has to consider it and affirmatively override that before they can release the prisoner early. Other parts of what my bill does, AB 1678, is it puts in certain crimes as non-violent crimes and makes them violent. Crimes such as stalking, felony child abuse, likely to cause great bodily injury or death, and solicitation to commit murder. Right now, you can commit those crimes and go out on early release without any parole supervision. I think if the public saw this list of crimes, they would be horrified at what the department actually considers to be nonviolent.
All right, we only have a few seconds left, but I do want to say congratulations. Your legislation that really places more restrictions on lenders in the mortgage crisis situation we have has become law.
It has. Thank you for that. And as I travel up and down the state as a candidate for Attorney General, the mortgage crisis plus early release issues are two of the most important topics that voters are concerned about, especially in our down economy.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Ted Lieu, member of the Assembly from Southern California, thanks for coming by talking about these important issues. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thanks to our viewers for watching Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Steve Swat, and we hope to see you next time.